Welcome back to Marketing Connected. I'm your host, Rizwana Manjur, and this is Agency Agenda, a show that puts the mic in front of agency leaders, diving into how they navigate the ever-evolving advertising and communications landscape. We have here with us Anish Daryani, founder, president, director, and CEO of Moonfolks, a creative agency based in Indonesia. Moonfolks was first established 8 years ago after Anish acquired MNC Saatchi Indonesia. It recently entered a strategic partnership with Havas. He was also previously tied to Phibius Lowe and Partners, Leo Burnett, Ogilvy, and Red Fusion Y&R. With that, thank you so much, Anish, for joining us in the studio.
Thank you, Rizwana. I mean, some very accomplished marketing and advertising professionals have been in your podcast. So I feel privileged and I feel almost, flattered that I've earned the stripes to be here. So thank you.
We're very happy to have you. And actually, we're honored that you're here because you're only here for 3 days.
Yes.
So we forced our way into your schedule.
No, more than happy to be. Thanks.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Moonfolks. I mean, the name itself is so interesting, and the story as well. You started it really soon after your exit with MNC Saatchi. We talked about the acquisition a little bit. Tell us how it all came around.
Okay. So, I mean, MNC Saatchi was not so much of an exit. So, in a way, because we had set it up, we founded the agency, Dami LK&I, and then we kind of did a management buyout. We acquired it. So, in a way, we rebranded the agency. So, everything remained the same. We retained our office, our staff, our team, all our business licenses, as well as our clients. But what we did was we kind of rebranded to Moonfolks.
Okay.
So this was in 2024, where, Gen AI was knocking on our doors.
Okay.
And when you're rebranding an agency in 2024, you don't need ideas out of the box. You need ideas of this world. And the best view of the world is the blue dot you see from the moon, and therefore Moonfolks.
Okay.
The other aspect that drove us towards Moonfolks was that we've always been very people first, right? So it's all about our people, the people who work in the agency, which is our team, and people who work with the agency, which is our clients and partners. So we said we put folks right into our name itself, which is a constant reminder that our people come first.
Yeah, well, aim for the stars and in your case, the moon.
True.
So you mentioned that this is Moonfolks' 8th year running, but the rebrand only happened in 2024.
Correct.
So you still consider even your time before the rebrand as Moonfolks?
Yeah, because it's the same team, the same people, pretty much the same ideologies with which we came together to build this agency.
Yeah.
But we rebranded to, like you said, look cooler and more contemporary.
Yeah.
And so lots, though the branding changed, but everything remains the same. And what was very interesting is that it was one of the hardest things I've done in my career, which is to brand ourselves, because you'll always be judged for it, right? I must have branded or rebranded dozens of brands.
Okay.
But then to do it for yourself was so much of a bigger challenge. So we had to really, really get it right. And I think we nailed it because even from the first few meetings with our clients, they were very keen to say Moonfolks, welcome, instead of, nobody makes a mistake and still calls us MNC Saatchi. So I think we just completely nailed it.
Yeah, well, it has a nice ring to it.
Thanks.
Were there any other names in the running?
Oh, there were many. This went on for like 3 months.
Okay.
Until an epiphany happened. The penny dropped like something like 3 in the morning when Dami Elkin and I were like tearing our hair apart, saying, how can this be so hard? And we started talking about, it's a full moon night today. And suddenly,
Oh, was that fantastic. It's interesting because not long after the name made the headlines for us as well, the announcement of the partnership with Havas came around.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you, for a moment, I thought Anish just gained his independence from being tied to a big agency name as well. Why did you decide to have this partnership so soon after? And tell us a little bit about what's the relationship like? How did it even come around?
Sure. So I believe Shining also asked this question to Rana, right? When you guys interviewed him.
Yes.
Yeah. So it drives a lot of curiosity about the industry because it's a first of its kind for the industry as well, where an independent agency and a network come together. And this drives a lot of like mutual gains for both sides.
Okay.
So to begin with, the way Moonfolks was structured was that we see ourselves as a commerce enabler or commerce accelerator.
Okay.
Because we put commerce at the heart of everything we do.
Okay.
Right. So branding and advertising translates brand purpose to commerce.
Okay.
Digital converts content to commerce.
Okay.
Shopper and activation elevates brand experience to commerce. PR, influencer, reviews, ratings, that kind of, bridges reputation to commerce. And then you need something that connects people to commerce, which is the media component, right? Which I think was missing. So we were building, bootstrapping a bit of a media agency since we gained independence.
Okay.
But it was too much of an effort because of the tech involved, because how media is evolving. On the other hand, for Havas, they were a media-only agency in Indonesia.
Okay.
But globally, they're driven through a village model where they have all integrated services under one roof.
Yeah.
So this was a win-win because we both fit into each other like two pieces of a puzzle.
Yeah.
So that was good. The other challenge was that when we were with Saatchi, we do have some regional relationships as well.
Okay.
And so becoming independent meant either having offices, which is hard to do immediately after gaining independence, or have diverse sort of, collaborations with different independent agencies. But our partnership with Havas also gave us a bit of a regional footprint, so we could, feed off each other's strengths across the region.
Yeah.
So it was a win-win at two levels.
Yeah.
So as far as Moonfolks is concerned, we still are independent as a creative and integrated agency. But Havas Moonfolks becomes our integrated offering, where everything from media to creative to tech to data can come together to solve problems for clients.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
it's a win-win at
So you
every
must have a certain amount of good chemistry with Rana as well.
Yeah, funnily, I never knew Rana.
okay.
Before we first met in Jakarta, he came down to see me in Jakarta. And
Were you in the same offices?
Yeah, we were in the same building,
Okay.
just one floor above them. And so I think of course, we've known of each other.
Right.
But we never worked together or even spoken for that matter. But when we met, then we had a lot of mutual connections, friends. We both hail from the same city, which is Calcutta.
Yeah.
A little bit of, Bengali conversation also flowed in. And I think that became a nice leveler in terms. So we got off on the right foot.
Yeah.
So it just somehow, the stars were aligned and the moon was in the right place.
I love the moon analogies in there, definitely.
Yeah.
And Rana's a hard man to say no to. I've met him once or twice in my career, and he's a very convincing leader, and you can really buy into his vision. And also, he's a very charming man to have a conversation with.
Indeed.
So I get that. But you must have had some hesitancy working with big networks again. What were some worries that you had?
See, even with MNC Saatchi, I think we had a very sort of mutually agreeable kind of exit.
Okay.
The reason being that, I was still in a regional role for MNC Saatchi as their Chief Growth Officer for Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
I was very close to the global management back in the UK, despite the change of guard. So it was all great. It's just that we felt that the pace at which we wanted to go, being a part of a larger network, would probably come in the way because, then you have a lot more layers. So that's what prompted us to, become more independent. Plus, we were more digital first, and Saatchi had this legacy that it came with, which sometimes was a bit of a baggage. Also in Indonesia, which is a very price-sensitive market, sometimes just perceived as expensive, whereas we were very competitive.
Yeah.
So it ticked a lot of boxes for us. Now with Havas, it made sense for the reasons I told you earlier, which is, we also need a bit of a regional presence, which the Havas network gives us. We complete the village together in Indonesia. And also, it took a little while for us to work on the deal. So literally, we discussed this for over a year. We went into it with commitment and with eyes open and with more mutual trust between both sides. So yeah, we mitigated whatever risks
Yeah.
could have come in the way.
Yeah.
And as far as Havas is concerned, they're very forthcoming in terms of understanding that Moonfolks is an independent entrepreneurial agency, and they encourage us to bring that entrepreneurial streak into even running the media business. So that's
How
what it
did the
was.
folks in Moonfolks take it? Because you do put people first, as you
Yes, yeah,
mentioned.
yeah.
Were there some apprehensions of, oh my God, here we go again?
To be honest, there were lots of questions. So the first town hall that we did, where we announced that this is
is happening.
happening, we were moving the Havas media team into our office.
Okay.
So there were concerns about, oh, so I'm gonna have less space to work with or whatever. But then people also. My vision in terms of building this whole ecosystem is not new to the team. They've always known this. So they were also, in a way, appreciative of the fact that there will be new learnings.
Yeah.
We have now media as an offering. And that's also how the industry was, like I said, the timing couldn't have been better because the pitches that we were getting were more integrated pitches where you have media and creative coming together or media data and tech coming together. And so everybody felt a little excited that,
Yeah.
this is a possibility that everybody gains from.
Fantastic. No, that's good to hear. Before Moonfolks and your time in Indonesia, you spent a good amount of time in Vietnam, right? Tell us some of the experiences that you had there that maybe you brought forward to Indonesia and kind of shaped the way that you're building the agency.
Yeah, so I took a very sort of calculated risk when I was in Vietnam because I'd always been with the larger holding companies,
Yeah.
so WPP, Publicis, and now IPG. Then when I was at Low, and then I somewhere in my head always wanted to start my own agency, which is the reason why I moved from the baggage of all the holding companies to work with an independent agency for the first time, to unlearn certain things and to learn how things are done differently with independence.
Yeah.
That actually opened up a whole lot of opportunities for me in terms of new leadership styles, in terms of adapting and finding your place in an otherwise very noisy environment. And that sort of entrepreneurial streak kind of flowed in when I moved to Indonesia, first as the head of that agency, and then after that to start MNC Saatchi, which then became Moonfolks. So in terms of learnings, I think culturally there are some similarities between most South Asian countries, but they're also so distinctly unique.
Absolutely.
So Vietnam, what I loved was the hustle there in terms of getting things done, the excitement, the impatience to get things done is so much more. Also because it's relatively a younger country and it's a bit of a leapfrog generation, right? So they didn't have a gradual ascent into the modern era. They came from a war-torn era to directly into the 21st century. So they didn't do the usual, landline phone to a, Symbian phone to a smartphone. They went from no phones to an iPhone or smartphones,
Yeah.
right? They went from no TV to a smart TV.
Right.
So the digital evolution
The
is
appetite of-
the appetite
yeah.
of it, the willingness to try new things
Yeah.
was so much more there. Indonesia is again very different. So Indonesia is way more connected as a people.
Okay.
In the sense that there is this whole philosophy of gotong royong,
Okay.
which is about the fact that if you're moving ahead, you take everybody with you.
So sense of community is
Yes,
very
a
high.
very
Yeah.
strong sense of community. Like your win doesn't have to come at somebody else's loss. We can all win together.
Love
That's
it,
the
yeah.
whole spirit. So culturally, it's different. But now that you ask, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited to tell you. And Moonfolks is launching in Vietnam.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, so we're very excited about that. We're also launching in Brunei, which is in Feb.
Yeah.
So maybe this
Nice.
podcast might come out
After,
after,
yeah.
but then I thought,
But you still
but
told
I'm
us
talking to you
first.
now, and
Yeah.
yeah.
We still got the breaking news. We still got the scoop.
Yeah. So we will make formal announcements. So,
Oh,
but yeah, very
fantastic.
excited to go back.
Brunei. That's an
Brunei.
interesting choice.
Yes, it's the entire dynamics and economics of the country is so different.
Okay.
There are only about 480,000 people, so it's a small country by people.
Yeah.
But then it ranks number 7 in the world by GDP per capita. And so it mirrors Singapore in many ways.
Yeah.
But then they have a big ambitions as clients there and brands there, but they also have gaps in terms of the industry being able to support them.
Oh, interesting.
So it was just one visit there and, meeting and getting to know a few clients, and then opportunities just opened up.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank
It
you.
must be a very exciting
It is a very exciting
ahead
time.
for you.
Yeah. Well, we could have done this expansion way back. So
Yeah.
actually, Vietnam was planned immediately, actually before COVID.
Okay.
And then COVID came and derailed plans, right? And then we all went through that. We had to take 2 steps back to move forward again.
Yeah.
So we all went through that phase. But I think now the time is perfect. We've had a brilliant 2025. We all feel confident to go out and start winning the world over.
Will you have legs on the ground, or will you be?
We
get
will
set-
have, yeah. The way we want to do this is we'll have Indonesia as more like a hub team.
Yeah.
But we will have, specialists who come with, market know-how, market understanding, or even semantic understandings,
Okay.
cultural understandings, those kind of resources.
Yeah.
Which will be on the ground for us.
And you have existing clients that already want to crack those markets?
Or
Or will
I
it be-
do have client relationships that are already sort of ongoing.
Okay.
And now the need of the hour is to expand that.
Okay.
It's-
Understand. Well, you mentioned that it's in Vietnam that you honed in your entrepreneurial skill, but I know you for a couple of years. I would argue that it's in your blood, and I'm gonna come back to that a little bit more. So we expanded into Australia, and time and again, the conversation we hear is on cracking Indonesia as a market.
Yeah.
But I feel that Indonesia as a market is very hard to crack. Can you tell us what are some of the trends, the secret sauce into really understanding the nuance of Indonesia?
Sure. I think the reason why some companies find it very hard to crack Indonesia is because they're coming with a very short-term vision. They want results yesterday.
Yeah.
And,
90-day cycles.
yeah. But in reality, Indonesia is a very strong, solid market. Like I said, culturally, it's very different. So you have to really commit for the long haul. Like I've spent 10 years now in Indonesia, right? And I had 10 years prior to that, I lived in 5 other countries. So I've literally anchored my ship here.
Yeah.
And the same clients who were happy to talk to me are now eager to work to me because they know how I'm committed, how I'm doing things to impact the community and the society in certain ways. And I've established sort of a bit of a reputation, if I might say. And that trust that I've been able to build. And it takes time. You can't build trust overnight, right? You've
Yeah.
got to invest time.
How much time?
In building. And it depends. Like there's so many other factors at play.
Okay.
Like, proven performance over time and the way you build things or you conduct it. So many factors.
Yeah.
There. But I think the only advice I would give I do a lot of this because I also head up Indian Chamber of Commerce in Indonesia. So a lot of Indian companies who come to us and say, guide us as to how we should look at Indonesia.
Yeah.
Same goes for British companies when I sit on the board of Bridgechamp. And the only sound advice we can really give them is that don't come here for short-term gains. You come here for the long haul.
Yeah.
And you build on your early successes
Yeah.
and be consistent.
Yeah.
And that's where the market truly rewards you.
Understand. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. That's very insightful. How important are on-ground relationships in a market like Indonesia? Because I think one of the I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but one of the things that I often hear is, oh yeah, we go to Indonesia often. Oh yeah, we've got a satellite office in Indonesia. So how important is it really to have somebody situated in the market if you want it to be successful?
It's different for different kind of businesses.
Okay.
But it's also a market where face time matters.
Okay.
So giving face to people.
Mm.
Like I said, it's relationship building over time, right? And those go a long way. Like you don't have to necessarily have an entire
Army.
army
Yeah.
there, but because that market is so unique,
Yeah.
culturally and even in terms of business ethos and so many other
Yeah.
factors, you need people who can translate that for you if you're an international investor, if you're a company coming from outside and trying to make Indonesia an extension of your own.
Okay.
So people who've been there, have that experience or have that cultural understanding at any level whatsoever are really going to be an asset in terms of helping you establish set your foundation there. But there are a whole lot of companies who are actually doing business there for many years and don't necessarily have that massive presence
Yeah.
there, but they have significant amount of business. So
Got you.
it's yeah.
I feel like I'm getting a crash course on Indonesia. I'm just using you as my own soundboard to strategize what to do in Indonesia. No, but thank you for that. So I want to talk about our entrepreneur comment earlier.
Yeah.
I have the answer in my head, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Okay.
Are you a serial entrepreneur?
I am in many ways. And even as an agency, we often tell our folks
Yeah.
that we wish this is your last job because when you get out of here, you should be doing something on your own, whether it's any other creative business or the agency business or whatever. So we're actually grooming a whole lot of entrepreneurs. So my two co-founders, Dami and Elki, we and myself included, we all had day jobs, right? And then we got together and started something. And people see that if you really put in the effort and you're committed to it, and you go through those testing times initially, you will eventually succeed. So that's something that's kind of a model that we propagate to our teams as well.
Okay.
But I've been very lucky that way because I've come from a family of entrepreneurs. So my father has been an entrepreneur, and so is my mother. My brother is a very successful entrepreneur. So I think somewhere growing up, we learned certain aspects of business from our parents, my brother and I, which have kind of become a North Star for us in many ways. So that school holidays for me, in many cases, wasn't about going on a vacation. Very often it was going and helping my dad in his business. Learn how to sell behind, he had a garment business, so sometimes he would go behind the counter and sell, as in do salesmanship and actually sell to customers who walked in.
Yeah.
And a lot of our confidence and understanding of people, reading body language, so many of these things we learned uh, in our very early years of life. So
And it becomes like intuition for
it
you
is.
almost, right? Because it's so early in your
It's like
life.
muscle memory, and when you're faced with the situation, so many years of learning and practice come into play to help you.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. No, thank you for sharing that. My final question, I know you shared with us about Vietnam, Brunei, but what else is on your plate? What's on the agenda this year?
There is so much more we want to do in the tech and data space,
Okay.
which is already sort of, we've taken the baby steps on it, and now it's about building on that. Again, I mean, there are two markets we're entering this year, which is a handful, but we have strong leadership in both countries. So it's just in terms of giving them the support, giving them the backing that they need in every aspect of business and building the culture there in those markets, because we have a very strong culture at Moonfolks. And how does that translate? So those, I think, keep priorities, and Indonesia is pretty much going to be the anchor. So while you do that, you have to make sure that you don't take the eye off Indonesia. But to deal with that, we're also making some very senior strategic hires in Indonesia as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's an exciting year. I have my hands full, and the only reward for doing good work is more work. So I'm always hungry for more. it'll be a very exciting 2026. So we're really looking forward to all the excitement that follows.
Fantastic. Well, it's your 8th anniversary. 8 is also the infinity sign.
Indeed. Yes, yeah.
So we wish you all the best
Thank
to
you so much,
infinity
Rutma.
and beyond the moon even.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And appreciate your time here with us as well. And thank you for being part of Agency Agenda, Anish.
Totally loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. And to our listeners out there, fear not, even though this interview with Anish of Moonfolks is over, we've got loads of other episodes you can catch on our Marketing Connected channel and YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Marketing Interactive's social media pages on Telegram, Instagram, and LinkedIn to get alerts on new podcast episodes. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Marketing Connected, brought to you by Marketing Interactive. We can do it together now.